sounds of a lick, sounds of a lick, sounds of I'm not, sounds of I'm not, sounds of a ooh, 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 sounds of I'm not, sounds of I'm not.
Hello. Welcome back to TrendingSA live on SABC3 and online on TrendingSA.tv. Can we make sure all our monitors work in our new studio, please? Thank you. It's time to introduce our new guest tonight. His success story begins with him being raised in rural Transkei. He eventually made his mark in advertising and then in stand-up comedy. And then he became one of South Africa's most influential people, those who have political opinions and stories and narratives that he shares on his social media. He also added author to his list of accomplishments. I believe legend has it that his book, entitled, to quote myself, released in 2015, is the most shoplifted book at that big.
I bet you it's him. I think okay.
Here he is, the leader of the People's Army against typo Nazis, who never eats the black jelly babies. Welcome to TrendingSA, Khaya Dlanga. Christiana, my gorgeous, how are you? I'm good.
How's the class?
I'm good.
We're trying to say, my brother, you are right.
I'm busy reading your book.
Oh, yeah. Good. Yeah.
All right, so first things first, to quote myself,
yes.
I got that statistic from you. So is it the most shoplifted?
It was.
Okay.
When it came out, there was an article in the Sunday Times that listed it as
Which
one
you
of
wrote.
the most. No. The book that I wrote, yes. Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit? I mean, I've read the book, and back then I was really struck by the relationship and the impact that your mom had on your life. I know that, you know, like so many of us, we're grandmom and granddad's children, but there's something that she taught you about resilience, about the way to stand up to bigotry and the big bad world out there. Tell us a bit about your mom.
Yeah, my mom was a bit of a badass.
Yes.
Because, you know, in this village that I grew up in, that's where she was obviously from as well. I remember seeing an event I'd never seen in this village. My mom was riding a horse in this village.
Wow.
And we'd never seen a woman in this village on a horse. So there was this perception, this idea that like women weren't allowed to, you know, to ride horses and go on horses and just go about their merry way. And she asked my grandfather for his favorite horse. My grandfather was like, okay. I put a saddle on the horse and I put it up and I saw her and I was like, this is the kind of woman who won't let people just tell her what to do.
Amazing.
She'll do what she wants to do. And the entire village literally came to a standstill watching her ride this horse to the next village.
And it's actually quite amazing, your grandfather making that possible, making that platform possible as well. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, my grandfather was strict, but he was also weirdly liberal in a way.
Yes.
Which is, and I think a lot of people from back then in the villages were, I think that there's two worlds that they lived in, where you want freedom for your children, but on the other hand, you also want your culture and traditions to remain in the same place. But you know that progress won't happen if you insist on sticking to culture as it
was.
All right, still on the autobiography. A lot of people would think it's easy to write about yourself because, I mean, you'd know yourself the most. But what were some of the problems with writing a book about yourself?
The biggest problem was for me, actually, it was when the point of no return, when the book had been written, I was told this is what is coming out.
Sure.
I am not kidding that, like, you know, I'm glad there's a doctor here. I literally almost had a heart attack. Like 2 days before the launch, I had the biggest panic attack and I was in Sandton City. I had a, I remember the shop I was in at that point in time. The lady says to me, "Are you okay? Are you fine?" I was like, I don't know. And they put me on this wheelchair. I almost said an F word. Freaking.
Yeah.
So and they put me on this wheelchair. I was taken to the medical center because my heart was beating so irregularly. And I think it was really stressed about how it's going to be received, what people will think, because this is my life out there and I'm putting it out there. So it was pretty scary. It was a scary moment. So the writing of the book itself, I think was okay, but the scary bit, it's going to be judged. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Oh,
How was
grief.
it, the judgment? Was there any?
Actually, you know what? There was an article that came out in the Sunday Times, and
Again?
it was the first it was the first review, and that review. So I didn't know that this had come out, and I saw people on the timeline. Oh, so and so really trashed his book. He hated the book. Oh, and they were so happy, and I was like, okay, oh wow, this was a bad idea. This is a very bad idea. And then, that person also wrote a book, and their book was long-listed the same year, but mine was short-listed and his wasn't.
Oh.
Sip
For
your
a
tea.
major But I mean, besides that, I think it's really scary. It's a very terrifying prospect because you're putting yourself out there, and
100%.
no one has asked you to do that, and
Yeah.
you've done that. And so whatever comes to you, you have to accept because you put yourself out.
We are
there.
Papa, basically.
Yeah, more than gender.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not wearing a hat today, but you do wear many hats, figuratively and
Yes.
literally. You're an award-winning advertiser. You're an author. It said stand-up comedian on your bio, but I'd like to contest that fact. But we'll unpack that later.
Yes,
as a
yes,
professional myself. Which hat best serves your sense of self, Khaya Dlanga?
I think for me, it's really how it's going to sound very cheesy and all of that, but it's really how I relate to people and how I interact with them and how they are towards me. And I think for me, the best thing and my best experiences have always been with people who are like-minded and people who are generally just want to leave others feeling good about themselves.
Nice.
And that's what gives me like a good sense of who I am. If I don't want, like when I'm dead, it's like someone, okay, yeah, he won many awards for advertising, won this. I don't know how great for me that is, but I just want to have like a positive impact, I think, on people that I meet.
You want to have a positive impact on the people you meet, but yet you lead an army. Tell us about this army when I'm home. And also something about black jelly babies you don't eat.
Yes.
Which tell us what's going on in your life. Tell us about this army. What army is
No,
this?
what like the people's leader against typo Nazis.
Yes.
I don't like people who just police typos because you know what I mean, and you understood what I said. So why are you making this a big deal when there's nothing? Really?
Yes,
So
no,
for me,
being
that's,
petty.
they're being petty.
And then
Yeah.
tell me about the black jelly babies, bananas you eat every other
Because
kind.
I feel that like with the black jelly babies,
can
I feel
relate.
like I'm eating my own kind.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? The world is eating enough of you, my people. So
Is that why I never eat the orange ones? Oh.
Lala, you a couple of days ago you shared this post on Twitter. I see John. It's Khaya Dlanga, cute, romantic, funny, and clever all at once. But 79% of people don't know opposite words for the following. Can you tell us the opposite words for these? And then also we want to know if you are one of the 79% or not. What are the meaning? What are the opposites?
So what's the opposite of always?
yeah, there we go. There
No,
we go.
shush,
That's
shush,
it.
shush. No. So, I want
Are you
to-
asking me?
Yes, not Nina. Shush.
Oh, never going to give you up.
Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down.
You've just been rickrolled.
Rick Roll!
Rick Roll.
Rick
That's what that
Roll!
is.
Rick Astley.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank you.
highly
That.
disappointed in that.
I'm highly disappointed as well.
I
It's
feel-
corny.
I
No,
think I need to-
I think that's one of the most cerebral Rick rollings
Yes,
I've ever
it's
seen.
so-
That's very
come
good.
on, guys.
I need to
Very
write a whole thrashing myself about that tweet. But let's talk about something else.
Yes,
You're into the world of business. Like, we know you as the author, we know you as the funny guy on Twitter, but also you're involved in a lot of, well, let's say the corporate world.
Yes.
How did that start off?
Well, that really started off with me. Am I allowed to mention a
No.
corporate name? Okay. When a particular beverage company with it's red.
We get it.
Did they invent
open-
Santa Claus?
You can
White
open up
writing,
happiness
you know, that sort of
at some
thing.
point.
Yes. that beverage company. So they called me up. They wanted someone who had a particular set of skills that I had, which are very rare. in one individual at the
What
time.
were they?
What were they?
So, which was
Yeah.
both like creative and strategy
Oh,
in
okay.
advertising, which like is very rare that you find someone who's done like maybe being a copywriter or an art director and then decided to become a strategist, and I did both.
Okay.
And they were looking for those set of skills, and they're like, come to work for us, and the position didn't exist, so I was the first person to occupy that role in the company, and it worked very well. We did some pretty great work in the 6 years I was there. And then I left that company and went to a green one with a it's also a beverage company.
Adult
Dewy?
appeal.
Was it dewy?
No, it's
It's an alcoholic beverage.
Oh, that one.
It's of the other variety.
All right. Is the Ken one.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up there, as just a creative person who was very curious about, learning more about business. That's what I wanted to do.
Wow. So when you tell your parents, all right, listen, I'm going to go be something one day.
Yeah.
What was the dream as a child? And looking back now, do you think you've made little Khaya happy?
Oh, look at it.
That guy there.
That guy between 2 piles of cow dung.
Yes.
No, I'll tell you what it is for me. I did it like that kid. What I wanted to be when I was that age, I wanted to go and work in the mines, because in the village, that's what everybody, like all the men, want to go and work in the mines. And I thought that was what I was supposed to be as well. So I literally had no vision or no idea of what I wanted to be other than that. And I think everything else that's happened in my life is really, to be honest, is by the grace of God. So I didn't really plan and say, because I remember growing up with, if someone saw you pick up a heavy object as a child, they would say, oh, you're ready to go and work in the mines now.
Imagine.
Look at you,
No,
you're
I'm
a
not.
strong man. And literally, and that's what I thought I was supposed to be. And, but then it looks like, God had other plans then. And obviously with the help of my mother, because I think she had bigger visions for me than I had for myself. And I think that's why it comes up. That's,
That mommy.
That's my mom. So she's 64 now.
Wow.
She looks good for 64.
Looks great for
Yeah.
64.
She looks
Great.
really good for
Looks great
64.
for 64.
I'm curious to know, you're so high-powered, you're so influential, the world kind of works in a certain way when you have this kind of power in the world, but moms don't see that, right? Moms are moms. So how does your mom still remind you that you are her young Khaya?
My mom, she always has this, especially maybe on WhatsApp, in the family group, and she'll just be very dismissive about, maybe something I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
Put it out there. She'll just be
That
very
poker alone.
very dismissive about it. She'll be like, oh, I can dating him like a lot. So. But at the same time, she's also very proud.
Yeah, of course.
And every now and then, she'll send me something really heartfelt, and I'll be like, oh wow, that's my
Yeah,
mother.
it's a different
so
thing.
she feels really proud. And it doesn't matter how old you are. When your mother says something to you about how she feels about you, you will, you'll feel soft about.
That's beautiful.
I'm a thug, but look.
Wow.
Yeah,
When I
really
really
mean
Let's
it.
calm down. Let's calm down.
It doesn't, Thursday gets a manicure.
We're gonna keep thug lifing with
thugs,
Khaya
yeah.
Dlanga after this break. This is TrendingSA on SABC3.
Let's go.